Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me here at Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. For those of you who are maybe newer subscribers or viewers, you may not be familiar with my guy here, Marcus. He's been on before, and he lives in Georgia, and he has kind of his fingers on the pulse of a lot of the stuff that's going on, particularly in his county. But he also has sort of an overview. So he doesn't. We're not going to talk about like politics per se. Kind of maybe more some of the politicians. And one of the reasons that I asked him to kind of come back and give us a bit of an update is because it just sort of feels like some of the kind of MAGA Republicans are kind of pushing some of the more traditional ones who at least have some range out of the way. And it's a concern considering, it was Georgia that, got the senators into the Senate to give the Dems the majority. And so there's just things going on there. And I always feel like we should kind of keep track of what's going on in Georgia because I think it gives us some indicators of what's going on maybe in some of the other states that we sort of perceive as red. So, Marcus, again, thank you very, very much for being here. Um, I'm just going to start with that first question. How are the sort of traditional Republicans, so the Brian Kemps and the Raffenspergers, and how are they coping? Because it really does feel like there's this influx of mega politicians or people in government and their attitude. What's going on out there?
Well, they very well may be on their way out. That is the bottom line. Um, right now, Brian Kemp has his eyes focused on what's beyond the governorship. He has 2 more years out of his second term, and then he's term limited. The assumption has long been that he would run for the Senate and challenge John Ossoff, but word out on the street and his more recent behavior implies that his sights are actually on the presidency. And he's beginning to make decisions that may play well in the national Republican Party, but it is pulling the rug out from under a lot of people in Georgia. Well, probably if he doesn't do some basic things to turn this around, he could make it so that he can't actually win a Republican primary in Georgia. And I think that may actually be his calculation anyway. I think he's already decided that a normal Republican can't win a primary in Georgia, and especially not one that has alienated so many people in the southeastern part of Georgia, which has historically been his base. And so you know, the last time Cyndy and I did the show, I kind of went into a lot of detail about how Brian Kemp has put a lot of industry in Georgia with the port of Savannah expansion, in which will make it the largest seaport on the Atlantic Ocean, and on the building of the Hyundai plant. And there are 8 plants that are under construction. Actually, excuse me, it's now 9. The number has increased within 20 miles of my office. And actually a small little plant is going to be built actually just across the way from my office in a warehouse that's been vacated. So the industrial growth in southeast Georgia is off the chain. Uh, because he has changed he had made a bunch of promises to all these southeast Georgia counties that he was going to bring a lot of infrastructure money here and money for housing, and at this past legislative session. But since he changed his focus to the national scene, you know, accepting a bunch of money from Build Back Better, you know, a bunch of infrastructure money, is bad politics in at the national scene in the Republican Party. So
Oh
he's
my goodness.
decided he's not going to do that, and so the state of Georgia doesn't have the money to help these counties uh, catch up with the growth. And so to give you just a sample of it, the city I live in is a city of about 40,000 people. Its its water treatment plant uh, is capable of some growth, but it's out of date and it's not adequate for what's coming. And and right now there are 6,000 units of housing in the pipeline to be built in a county in a city of 40,000 people. That translates to about 12,000 people being added overnight. And then the folks at city planning are saying that they expect to get 2,000 more applications this month. The county has been taken over. The more traditional Republicans who are up for reelection this year have all been primaried out, um, every one of them, and they are being replaced by people who are who are out of their minds, who are just out of
That's
their
a good
minds.
description. That's a good description.
And the guy, I mean, the guy who just won to be, county manager is a full-time medevac pilot who works 60 hours a week, and somehow or another he thinks he has time to manage a rapidly growing county of 81,000 people. And the guy has never served in any political office. I sat down with him for 3 hours and say, "Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about the political consequences of pushing all this growth into the city of Statesboro, so that instead of having your suburbs grow with people, relatively wealthy people who own property and who will probably vote Republican, you're going to you're going to make city of Statesboro, 3 times bigger than the county, and it's going to be filled with uh, apartment dwellers from up north that are going to vote Democrat, and it's not going to be the kind of Democrats you're used to. It's going to be progressive Democrats from New York City. You realize you will be voted out in 8 years by people who share none of your values because of what you're threatening to do." And so anyway, and that was the first. That wasn't that was a revelation to him. So maybe that will change his approach, because he's like, "Oh, gee, I hadn't thought about that."
And that's a little. So are okay, so he's not going to take any money from Build Back Better, and the water system is like hitting max, and there's all this new growth. What happens to the infrastructure? How does that get put into place and created? Because there you've got all of these warehouses and plants being built, going to attract people. They got to fill them with employees.
Well,
Is there a plan?
the exact quote from our city planner: "The politicians have put us in a situation that is completely unworkable."
Wow.
The people are coming. They can't stop them from coming, and there's no infrastructure for them. And because the governor didn't put any money for the infrastructure, there's no way the city of Statesboro, for city of Statesboro to build what they need to build in order to be ready for these people without state and federal money to help. They would have to charge their water customers $30 a gallon to do it. That just is not going to happen. They will pump raw sewage into the Ogeechee River before they do that.
Okay, so really not big on environment issues either, obviously.
Well, the Governor Kemp did run on, I'm gonna relax all the environmental regulations so that Georgia can be the best place in this country to do business. So maybe that's what he's saying. By not putting any money there, that's what will happen, and just by default, because what else
Yeah.
can it do?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So as we're kind of, moving towards this federal election coming, what's your sense of what's likely to happen in Georgia? Like, does it at this point, does it really feel sort of like the crazy Republicans and MAGAs are just gonna do like a sweep? Because it does seem like in other certain, primary elections and that kind of thing, that the MAGAs aren't doing well. They're getting, they're not getting the votes to go forward. But is that happening in Georgia, or is it the flip where really the MAGAs have now like got a good stronghold?
The MAGAs have got a stronghold. They're winning. They're winning, especially in well, I don't know about other parts of Georgia, but they're pretty much sweeping the map in East Georgia. Now, what I will say about that is they have put because of that, uh, they have created a situation on the Bullitt County Board of Commissioners, you know uh, which was four traditional conservatives, Republicans, and two very conservative Democrats. And they have created a situation where the Republicans have a chance of gaining a seat. Sorry, the Democrats have a chance of gaining the seat, and the new guy who's running, who is the county chair of the Democratic Party, is still kind of on conservative side if you compare him to Democrats in other part of the country, but he's more progressive than the two African American conservatives that are on there. For one thing, he's gay, and they're pretty anti-gay. So there's that.
Could be a bit of a problem. Yeah,
That
yeah.
will be new for Bullitt County. So,
Not the warmest welcome, I bet.
so I mean, if he wins that election, and he could, what I saw happen at the Bullitt County Chamber of Commerce is, they are terrified. I mean, all the business leaders are just absolutely, they're not happy with anybody. They're not happy with the governor. They're not happy with these new people that got elected. They're not happy with the county commissioners that just got unelected because they didn't do some basic things they needed to do in order to not create the situation that everybody's in. They're just unhappy. And they were, and they supported there was a runoff for one of the Republicans that was a county commissioner, and they kind of kept quiet and quietly supported him until he lost his runoff bid. And now so at the last Chamber of Commerce, they were all standing around the Democrat for this seat, saying, "You're our guy. Don't worry. We got this. We're going to support you all the way. Rah rah rah." And I tell you, I've had some conversations with some um, with some local Republican business people around Statesboro, and they're pretty much done. They're not just done. I mean, they're still giving just kind of little bit lip service to the National Republican Party, but they are, to quote the president of one of our largest developer construction company in the town. She said, "I'm tired of the ugliness. I'm tired of the chaos. I am tired of 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 this, this game of chicken every year with the budget and things that affect my livelihood and that threaten to shut everything down." I want more politicians that are like our mayor, who, yes, he may be more liberal on a lot of social issues that I'm comfortable with, but doggone it, he keeps things running.
Yeah. Yeah. So just sort of, I want your take on this. If for some reason um Trump ceases to be a player in the Republican Party. Okay. So he's no longer kind of that shadowy leader of the Republican Party who's telling them what to do. What's your sense of sort of the MAGA Republicans? Are they going to be set adrift? Or has Trump just sort of given them permission to be their own worst selves and they're going to carry on in that vein? Like, I guess I'm trying to figure out is how independent or separate their thoughts are and their processes are from Trump, or not.
I mean, that's a really good question. I mean, um, a lot depends on who he chooses as his running mate. Because if Trump drops out for whatever reason, the running mate is going to end up being their. I mean, what will most likely happen is that Trump's name will remain at the top of the ticket, and then if he, God forbid, that ticket were to win, then what would happen is that they will sworn in the vice president, and then that vice president will immediately fulfill their constitutional role by being sworn in as president. I mean, that's most likely what will happen. And I say that because Georgia had something very similar to this happen back in the 40s, and that was the process which the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, laid out for the states in response to the question that came before them. So I can't imagine why they would break that precedent, because that's as rational a way to do it as any that I can think of.
Yeah.
And they aren't going to be able to nominate someone new because the states won't have time to change the ballots, and you'll end up with a situation where the Republicans have one candidate, their new candidate on some states, and their old candidate on the other states, and then numerically they can't get 270 they need to win the race. So they aren't going to do that. I don't think they're that stupid. So they'll just keep it the way it is, and then try to convince their people that, well, you know, the vice president nominee is really the one that's going to become president, but vote Trump. I
It,
think
it it's a
I have no
curiosity to
idea what
me.
the Republicans will do.
Yeah, it's a curiosity to me because it seems like um, people who have been running to be, Trump clones across the board, they're not getting elected. So it seems almost that Trump holds kind of the magic. And if you're not him, then people aren't interested as much as sort of following the new person, because that's what's happening in primary elections and that kind of thing, where the real mega candidate is not winning. And so, where does that lead? I mean, it's just a recipe for absolute chaos, and one end not knowing what the other end's doing.
Yeah, I think they will create a situation where, I mean, if something happens to Trump, I mean, I think two things are going to happen. Is that the there'll be some people who just aren't going to vote, or that will they just won't go to the polls. They'll be mad at everybody. Uh, you know, there was a time back when Georgia was uh, Democratic. You had what was known as yellow dog Democrats, which is they would vote for a yellow dog before they vote for a Republican. uh, and that's where the term yellow dog Democrat came from, and blue dog Democrat is a conservative Democrat because they're voting Democrat because of the history of the Democratic Party, even though they're really Republican. Anyway, the anyway the I mean if something happens to Trump, I mean if he were to pick a moderate, a moderate uh, uh,
Vice President?
vice president. It's possible he could win back the business community, I suppose. But 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 if he does pick a moderate vice president, and then that is the nominee, the Democrats, I mean, not sorry, not the Democrats, the MAGA people might assassinate that person. I mean, I don't. It's just no telling what might happen.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said, these people. It is just craziness what we see on the ground here, and there's no. Um, but I honestly think that I know that that um that you know our Republican representative is saying that Georgia is probably, because of decisions that's being made by Republicans and all these new people that are coming in, that he thinks East Georgia is going to flip the state blue in 2 to 4 years. I mean, not the state, but the House of Representatives. It will take longer with the governorship and with the Senate,
Yeah.
but he's saying, and we'll take it, and we'll take the entire state within 10 years. Because of what's happening in East Georgia, especially if you bring in all these Northerners and there's no infrastructure, and it's a gong show, and these Northerners come in and saying these yahoos that are running these counties and the state are just not.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks
So
really bad. It's going to look really bad when they get here and they look around and see how things are going.
So there's a lot of talk just in the last few days about how, the Fortune 500 companies are not supporting Trump, right? There were the executives who were in that meeting and they came out saying he can't finish a sentence. He doesn't know what he's talking about. The really, really, really wealthy people are supporting Trump because they like, I don't know, maybe the fact that he's just going to be a puppet or he's going to cancel all their taxes or whatever it is. So when you get like the business people, the people who are running those businesses, the CEOs, and they're like done with the crazy, and that seems to be the trend. Um, that feels like there's a way for Democrats to kind of move in there
Yeah.
and get some ground, because the last thing any business anywhere wants is chaos, right? The stock exchange goes nuts when there's chaos. Everybody wants things to level out and be smooth. And I just can't imagine that happening if by some horrible cosmic accident, Trump actually makes it to the election and wins. It's not going to happen. Don't freak out, everybody. But the point is, if something like wonky happens, I can't see how it's going to come together, because I think that the business people are just going to push back against him because they can't take any more chaos.
Well, I mean, as I said, the local business people here in Bullitt County are just done, and as I said, they were already mad at the old county commissioners, and now they got these new people, and they're just and they're okay, and now they're saying to the Democrats, well, how much money do you need?
Yeah.
and and so I
Marcus, hold on, because your sound has just vanished. I can
okay.
just hear you a very little bit.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you. But because you faded out on the really good part about the Democrats are saying how much money, or people are saying to the Democrats, how much money do you need? And then it died. So we
Yeah,
were
yeah,
really,
and I kind of got too far away from the microphones. What happened? I think I really think the Republicans are playing with dynamite. Now, here's the thing: uh, Democrats are going to have to make some tough choices too, and because the Democrat, you know, the Democratic Party is a very diverse party, and if you get a bunch of business Republicans flooding in the party, that's going to make things more conservative in the party wide, and so the question comes, can the Democrats hold it together? Um, we may be in a situation kind of similar to what happened uh, 200 years ago when the Federalist Party uh, collectively went nuts. where where a federalist vice president has a duel with a federalist former secretary of the Treasury and kills him, and the Federalists are now all of a sudden find themselves advocating for a monarch, as monarchical presidency and an American empire, and the result was was three consecutive two-term um, Republican Democrat presidents and a one-term one. And the one-term one was one term because the Republican Democrats split into the Democratic Party and what became the Whig Party, and you ended up back with two parties because the sane Federalists had become part of the Republican Democratic Party. And so this is what will happen. I mean, if the Republican Party continues on this insanity tour and American democracy survives, and that's the caveat. Can the Democrats hold on power for multiple administrations, until the Republican Party becomes weak enough that the Democratic Party is able to split and back into a center right, center left party?
yeah.
Can they hold it together that long and rule until these Republicans become so completely insane that they can split without losing the democracy to a bunch of crazy people? And we've done it before, but that was 200 years ago.
Yeah, well, if it's happened once, it can always happen again. It's definitely crazy, crazy times going on down there. So what's your sense of how the few Democratic people, okay, like, so you've got a Democratic senator or two there, how are they kind of holding their own in Georgia?
Well,
Like, do they still have a lot of support, or are people kind of going, they're not doing what I want them to do, or what's that looking like? Like the Oslovs and the like that.
of course, the MAGA people are of course off with their heads. The business community love Ossoff and Warnock because they're out trying to bring infrastructure. They're out trying to they have been two of the hardest working senators uh, the state of Georgia has had in generations that anyone can remember. And I'm having lots of business leaders say, these two senators are answering their phone calls, and they are doing stuff, And and I've had business leaders say, you know, our congressman from our district, Rick Allen, I, talk to any business person just about in Bullitt County, and they'll tell you that talking to Rick Allen is a complete waste of time. Uh, you know, this is not as all color as the way he said it, but our uh, our county manager said, that Rick Allen has his head so far up Donald Trump's rear end that there is no point in talking to him on any subject.
Well, yeah, that's pretty clear then. That's
And
pretty
that's a
clear.
Republican, and that's a Republican county manager who has that
Yeah.
opinion about him. So I mean, yet he still gets elected because he's got lots of money, and the MAGA people like him because he has his head up in the rear end of Donald Trump. I mean, and that's why he gets reelected. But the business community, especially the ones who are sophisticated enough to know the things that they actually need for their businesses to function well, they talk to the senators. They don't mess with Rick Allen.
Well, and the thing is, I imagine they're already a little testy considering, Kemp promised all of this stuff and then he pulled back and he's not delivering. And it seems like that it's going to cause a problem because you already have like the factories being built. It's not like you can just stop, right? But the
Right.
infrastructure isn't going to be there. He doesn't seem to want to be taking the money to build the infrastructure. It just
Yeah,
seems sort of like a sad situation. It seems from what you're saying that Kemp has started to sort of bend to the will of megas as opposed to holding firm the way he was earlier.
yeah. Well, right now Kemp's got everybody mad at him, and the evidence of it is that they floated the possibility of his wife running for governor in his place, and the MAGA people want the lieutenant governor in that spot because he's just as crazy as they are, and the lieutenant governor is one of the elector false electors who should be on his way to jail right now, and yet this is the guy who the MAGAs want to have be governor, and in Raffensperger is the one that the business Republicans want to become governor. And so, and Kemp floated the idea of his wife running, and he got rebuffed by everybody. so, I think if you'd asked me 2 years ago or even a year ago, I would say, Kemp is on his, Ossoff is a one-term senator, and Kemp is well on his way to replacing him. Right now, I'm not so sure. I think Ossoff may be in pretty good shape to. I mean, a lot depends on bigger national dynamics. 2 years into a second Biden administration, um, you know, that's a you know midterm election and a second term president is really tough for the party in power.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But I do know that the business community sees that Ossoff and Warnock are pretty good. And I tell you, if I think I think this crazy is wearing very thin. And I think if the Republicans uh, if they don't pivot away from this constantly, we're going to try to shut down the country every time there's a spending bill they don't like.
Yeah.
Um, I think they they will lose the people. I mean, just how much chaos is a tax cut worth?
Yeah.
I mean, because what does that cost you to have the country to come to a screeching halt every year? And
Yeah,
and
exactly. And,
So,
I can't help but feel that on a basic level, Trump is losing support more than certainly losing it more than he is gaining it, because I don't see him actually gaining any momentum. I mean, his rallies are half empty, but what it does seem like is the people who are still with him, they are like entrenched and they're not going anywhere, and they are the ones who are angry, and they're responding to his anger and his rhetoric. It feels like there's a whole bunch of other people in the country who are kind of free floating. They don't like Biden, and they don't like Trump, and they're kind of in the middle. But I do not see, unless you see something different on the ground, I don't see Trump gaining support. I just see the support getting louder. Is that what you're seeing, or are you really actually seeing they're taking over areas?
uh, I think in the case of Georgia, MAGA is going to take over as far as the Republican Party, but I think the consequence of that is the Democrats are going to are going the process of doing that is going to accelerate uh, the process of Georgia turning blue. So instead of Georgia being a purple state for 20 years, it might be a purple state for one or two election cycles and then just turn blue and stay blue. Um, the of course it depends on if the Republicans that are crazy take over and they make it so that no one who's not crazy can live here. And that may be how they turn it around, is that they just so destroy what Kemp and others have built that the whole thing just becomes unlivable. Well, then,
Maybe that's an idea. Maybe one of the states should just kind of surrender itself and be the home of the MAGAs, and all the MAGAs from all over the United States and congregate there, and they can be insane there, and then the rest of the country can get on with the business of living.
well, that is the, I mean, both DeSantis and Abbott, Florida and Texas, that is their spoken approach. Is we're gonna make this so insane that all the normal people leave and all the crazy people end up with Florida and Texas. Well, okay, but you can't win an election with just Florida and Texas.
No, that's right. And like, I am not casting aspersions, but when you see like interviews with really strong mega people, I'm sorry, they're just not that smart, and they're just not making sense. And so you compile all these people in a concentrated area. I
Well,
think
okay, well,
it's
see, here's my and I just had a count noses kind of conversation with the guy who's the county chair elect. The county has the city of Statesboro has 300 units of housing that's in the process of being developed. 3,000, I mean, sorry, 6,000 units of housing. That's 12,000 people. 6,000 people voted in the in the Georgia in Bullitt County in the Georgia primary.
interesting.
So the number of people that are going to move into Statesboro in the next 2 years is 3 times the number than all the people who voted in Bullitt County in the primaries. And those people are going to be a rental apartment dwellers who share none of the value. They're going to be from outside the South because the state of Georgia is marketing these factory jobs in places like New Jersey, New York, and Chicago. And so these new people are going to move in. They're going to be apartment dwellers. they're going to be from big cities, and they share no values in common with your rural voters who just voted you in.
Yeah.
And there's going to be 12,000 of them, and 6,000 people just voted in the election that elected you. What do you think is going to happen in 2028?
Yeah. Wow. And if nothing else, they're going to be really testy about that whole water situation too that isn't getting built.
Especially they're paying $30 a gallon for water.
I mean, that's not funny when your sewer starts backing up and there's no money to fix this stuff. That's getting people a little cranky. Listen, thank you so much for being here. I'm probably going to beg you to come back again, it's sort of middle fall, because I want to I just can't help but feel that if we keep our eyes on Georgia, it gives us some clarity about what's going on. Because it feels like Georgia has its fair share. I'm just going to call them like crazy MAGA people, but it also has a good group of like really smart business people who are trying to keep things floating and moving forward. And I can't help but feel that we need to keep our eye on Georgia across the board. So somewhere down the line, I'm going to beg you again.
I just want
Go
to make
ahead.
one last real quick point.
Sure.
Watch where Lincoln Project spends money. They're not spending money in Georgia right now because they think they're going to spend money in four Rust Belt states and in Arizona, and they're going to spend money in Florida because they think that if they can get Florida close enough that they can pick off Rick Scott. But they're not going to spend money in Georgia, which means they're just watch where they spend money
That's
because
brilliant.
because they specifically target states where they think they can throw the state with by changing a few Republican votes.
And tips like that are exactly why I keep begging Marcus to come on and talk to us. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much. For everybody else, the regular videos are going to be released as the week goes on. Don't forget to add your questions in the comment section. And until next time, take care and be well.